Have you 100% forgiven Samuel for killing the children?
100% I have.
If it was up to me, I'll bring him out tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Samuel Davidson, and this is my story I'd like to share with you tonight.
There was so much anticipation leading up to that moment of Danny meeting Samuel inside that maximum security prison. We knew that Samuel was going to be very nervous and Danny was apprehensive. I wouldn't call Danny nervous, but he was apprehensive about how it was going to go. This is an extremely rare, exceptional meeting between the father of 3 children killed and the killer of those 3 children, plus their cousin, Veronique Saker. So none of us were quite sure how it was going to go. The Corrective Services New South Wales, the Prison Authority, had given us not free rein, but access inside areas where the public never gets to go. Certainly a TV crew never gets to go. So we were right behind the layers of walls and security, barbed wire fences, cameras everywhere, big lock steel doors. So I think there was a general apprehension amongst all of us as well. We were nervous, I was nervous.
Hey, mate.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good, brother.
What's happening?
Good to see you.
You well?
Yeah, I'm well.
Yeah, no, you're looking good.
Thank you, so are you.
Even though we had all that access, we were flies on the wall. I was curious just to step back and see how this moment was going to happen, how they would embrace the words they'd use. And even though there had been prior contact, I think Samuel was very nervous about how he was going to appear publicly. People don't really know until this point who Samuel is, what sort of a guy he is. We knew him as the reckless party animal, young idiot who got behind the wheel that day while high and drunk and changed lives forever in that catastrophic moment. Not an accident, a crash.
Mowed down by a drunk and drug-affected driver.
Drunk and high driver who killed 4 children. A shirtless, dishevelled mess.
But he was on board, and a lot of effort had gone in behind the scenes to just make sure that as much as possible, metaphorically, all the doors were open emotionally so that those 2 men could just meet behind locked, closed doors and share that moment. Because the whole point of restorative justice is the sharing of stories between offender and victim. Not retribution, not anger, not a moment for the victim's families to take revenge on that person, but to understand more about why they did what they did and what was lost. What did Danny's forgiveness mean to you, Samuel?
It meant that I've got a second chance at life here.
What do you ask of Danny now, sitting beside him?
Look, he's given me everything, to be honest. He's forgiven me. That's massive. I can't really ask for more than that.
I actually went and met Samuel before we got underway. Now, in any other circumstance of doing our stories, I would always meet with the people that we're talking to, in most circumstances, and have a good chat to them to make sure that they're aware of what we're doing here. Not that there were restrictions on these interviews or any subjects that were, off record. Everything was on the record, but I wanted to meet him. Not easily done. In any other circumstance, I'd get in my car or jump on a plane and go and meet the people we're about to do a story on and talk it through with them. This was much harder. All right, this is your block.
So this is B1. This is where I'm housed at the moment.
This is home.
This is home.
Just a sense of responsibility that Samuel knew exactly from me directly what we were going to be doing because of the logistical nightmare of communicating with Samuel in a maximum security prison. I knew the messages had been relayed through prison officers, lawyers, psychologists, his own family, but we hadn't spoken to him directly, so I met with him one-on-one, and I was surprised. And what I found was a guy who could be anyone's brother, son, mate, doing what countless versions of Samuel are doing every weekend in every corner of Australia. And that's getting to the end of the week and getting absolutely plastered and going on a bender. And a bloke living with the deepest of regret and remorse. So he was different to what I thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
There you go. You've got some friends up there too. They're listening in.
4 birds,
Yep.
4 kids.
Beautiful.
That's what Layla would say.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Your wife would see this as a moment.
The 4 kids, the 4...
100%.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, she always notices things, I thought.
4 birds in song right now, and we're talking about 4 kids who were lost.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
The bird moment was completely surreal. I mean, I don't like to overanalyze things too much in a spiritual sense, but it was a moment. When those 4 magpies landed on the ledge directly above us, like just behind my head, at the moment that we're talking about 4 children lost, then those magpies broke into song, it was an unbelievable moment. And I know a lot of people were blown away by that moment. That's the feedback I've had, is that's the moment that people really started crying. Danny instantly analysed it as a very, very spiritual moment. He straight away said, the 4 kids, they're here. And I know that he and Layla, his wife, really believe in that wasn't just 4 birds landing on a ledge in a building in the countryside. That was a spiritual moment. It was really moving. I had to pause for a minute, actually, and try and work out what had just gone on. And Samuel obviously reacted to that as well. Incredibly moving moment. I've had a lot of people reach out to me about that. A lot of people saying it was a sign. It was the presence of the children. I'm not going to argue with that. It was something. What relationship are you going to have with Samuel now?
He's a person I speak with from a spiritual point of view, about scripture, about the church. He tells me about his day. I speak to him regularly. We speak to each other. Lately we've been speaking once a week. He calls me, and then I sometimes check in on his parents. So the relationship will always be there.
So Danny and Samuel have spoken. Samuel is allowed to get some calls out in a controlled way, and Danny's on his call list, so he can call Danny. And they've connected and shared their thoughts about, what was a very big story affecting a lot of people, millions of people around Australia and around the world. Samuel is really empowered by that. He's very grateful, he says, that he got a voice finally and he was able to talk. Now, some people still might argue with that he did an absolutely atrocious act of violence and killed 4 children. So does he have that right? Should he have that right? But we're talking about an exceptional story here, an exceptional circumstance where, Danny, Abdullah and Layla have forgiven him. So we were able to give him a voice. So he's very overwhelmed, in fact, that he's got a voice. He has told us that not only amongst the other prisoners in maximum security, there's huge support amongst the prison officers who've also said to him, this is an amazing moment, and you've actually helped us feel good about what we do as well behind bars, because we're often forgotten or there are bad stories about them. So they are also overwhelmed with the positive reaction, overwhelmingly positive reaction. Yeah, so I think he's a bit blown away by it all. Do you think he deserves to be in jail for as long as he is?
That's a good question. Look, if it was up to me, I'd bring him out tomorrow. I know the guy...
Really?
Justice is to have my kids back. That's all. If you got 1 day or you got 100 years, it's not gonna change how I feel.
He said that if he had his way, he'd have you out of here in a flash.
Yeah, that's really going the extra mile. Hey, he's 1 in a million. Just absolutely amazing man.
Danny said that remarkable thing in the story, which was, look, if I had my way, I'd probably get him out of there. The only justice for me is my children being alive again, and that's never going to happen. So whatever length his sentence is, that's probably not justice for me. For Danny, he knows that law and society and we all demand there be penalties and punishments to deter people like Samuel doing what he did ever again. So he's not trying to advocate that sentencing be scrapped. He's just saying for him personally, he doesn't believe that, there's however long the sentence is, it doesn't matter to Danny and Layla because they're never going to get the kids back. When I sat with Samuel in the prison, I went and visited him. He reiterated that. He said, I don't want people to think that I've done any of this for any allowances or greater conditions, because he can't get it. That's not part of restorative justice. And he said, I'm here. I know I'm here for 10 years. I know I have a long parole period after that. I will serve that time. I did the crime, and that is it. And I'm settled with that, and it's as it should be. He repeated that quite a few times. So I thought that was pretty strong. I think he's mindful that some people might think he's, going to get something out of this, and he's just not.
If there's anything I can say to anyone, it is, obey the speed limit, obey all the traffic laws. Please do not drink and drive or under the influence of anything before you drive. Do not do it. And don't drink or take drugs or anything to hide your depression or any anxieties. Just go see a professional if you have to. And some of you might think I'm crazy, but go to church, give it a go, try it. You never know. So that's my biggest message.
I knew this story was going to have a huge impact on a lot of people. I really hoped when we set out to do it that it would just make people perhaps drop some judgment and think, or take a fresh look at what happened here. Forgiveness is an extraordinary act, and it doesn't come easily. Have you 100% forgiven Samuel for killing the children?
100% I have.
Completely?
Completely.
There's not 1% of anger?
There's probably disappointment, but I can't sit in that past place and dwell. I've accepted what's happened.
Were you angry?
Of course I was angry. Yeah.
Vengeful?
I was initially, but when I saw my other kids, how broken they were, when I saw my wife being broken as well, that for me sort of fizzled away. I don't want to make it go from bad to worse. It's like I've dug myself, I'm in a hole and I don't want to go deeper. I'm just going to stop right there.
Not a lot of people can bring themselves to do it. It's a long and complicated journey. It's based heavily in Danny and Layla's faith, and that's incredibly powerful when you sit with them and you hear them talk and they articulate why they have forgiven Samuel. I knew it was going to have an impact. I didn't expect it to have the impact that it's had. In Australia and worldwide, millions of people are now watching this story, and they're having conversations within their family and amongst their friends that they haven't had before. So I had one young man reach out to me and he said, Mum and Dad visited today. We have never sat down as a family and talked about those emotions that you raised in your documentary, particularly forgiveness. And I'm a young adult man and I'm having it with my elderly parents, so we're talking about it. I had mates in my own circles reach out and say, I made my sons particularly sit down and watch this story because they're on learner plates or P plates or, young in their lives, sit down and watch this story and listen to the message of this guy, of his recklessness and what it cost, these families. And around the world, it's being shared on a crazy scale. There's a humanity about this story that touches everyone, no matter where you're from, and it's really resonating. And people were blown away by Danny's act of forgiveness and Layla's as well. And that moment of him coming face to face with Samuel is powerful. Have you apologised?
I have, and I'll do it again. Danny, I'm really sorry to you and your whole family for what I've done and all your friends. And I'm also sorry to all the emergency services that turned up to that day and had to deal with what they dealt with. And I'm sorry to everyone, even the neighbours that were on the scene. Everyone that I've affected, I apologise. And I'm deeply sorry and I regret it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I've forgiven you already.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
I think Danny's act of forgiveness has challenged a lot of, particularly men, who in those circumstances might go for revenge first, stay in anger, hatred. Listening to Danny talk about those emotions, he puts it so plainly but very well thought through, because he's had a lot of tortured time to think about this, that had he stayed in that place of anger, of perhaps revenge, he would have ruined his family around him. Still had 3 surviving children, wife, they've now gone on to have 2 more children. He said if he'd stayed in that place of anger, of despising Samuel, of living and waking up with hate every day, he would have brought the whole family down around him, lost his business, lost everything, lost his own soul. So he hasn't settled on forgiveness as easily as Layla did in those very first days. He's had to really wrestle with it. And Danny's had a really challenging upbringing. He's had his own struggles and battles along the way and become, a successful man, a great family man, a great leader in his community, a huge believer in his faith as a Maronite Catholic. But he still wrestled with forgiveness. This hasn't come easily for Samuel. He hasn't just walked into a prison and said, I forgive you, I have to, it's what God tells me. He's fought back and forth with God about it a lot. And he's settled on this point of not only forgiveness, and this is the most amazing thing, of embracing Samuel to this extent that in 10 years' time, if and when Samuel is allowed out on limited parole, the very first thing he wants Samuel to do is come to his house for a family barbecue. I mean, he's embracing him as a son or a brother. Unbelievable. And I think a lot of people who've watched the story are still trying to wrestle with that themselves. Like, could they do it?
Putting my parent hat aside, I could see that he's living in a place of guilt. And I always say, if I had to give him a gun and say, you either shoot those kids or shoot yourself, he'd probably say, I'll shoot myself instead. So what do I do with that? Do I just keep hurting him? It's not going to make anything. Do I keep hating him? What's it going to do? It's not going to do anything.
Yeah, I've thought long and hard about what I would do. It's an awful hypothetical, isn't it? I'm not an angry, violent person. I can't see myself ever wanting to lash out if God forbid I lost any of my 3 children. But would I be as forgiving? I don't know. Really don't know. I hope dearly I'm never tested to the limits that Danny and Layla and Bridget's sake of Veronique's mum have been tested. I don't know. He's an amazing man, Danny, and Layla, and Bridget, Veronique's mum. She's going through her own journey, which is very private, so I won't reveal any of that now, but she's going through her own journey of forgiveness. No, they have a strength that a lot of us can learn from and perhaps build on. I'd like to think I would do like Danny, but I don't know. I hope I'm never tested like that. You may well have saved Samuel too.
Yeah, I didn't look at it that way. Never thought of it when he said that to me. Then I realised.
And always, always, always we remember the kids.
Never forget them. I've been thinking about them all day and every day.